The reluctant stand-in Olivia Bennet ran her fingers along the spines of newly arrived novels, relishing the quiet sanctuary of her small bookstore. Chapter 1. At 32, she had built this haven for herself, a place where conversations with fictional characters felt safer than those with real people. The afternoon light filtered through the dusty windows, casting a golden glow across the worn wooden floors as the bell above the door jangled. "Liv, thank God you're here." Her cousin Naomi burst in, designer heels clicking frantically across the floorboards. "I need an enormous favor." Olivia sighed, already wary. Naomi Peterson was everything she wasn't: confident, glamorous, and perpetually surrounded by Seattle's elite. Where Olivia preferred oversized sweaters and quiet evenings with tea, Naomi collected cocktail dresses and social connections like trading cards. "Whatever it is, I'm probably going to say no," Olivia replied, continuing to shelve books. "You haven't even heard what I'm asking." Naomi dropped her leather tote on the counter. "The Peterson Foundation Gala is tonight, and I'm supposed to meet with Ethan Reed, the reclusive genius behind Horizon Technologies. This meeting could mean everything for my event planning business." "So go meet him," Olivia shrugged, climbing down from her step stool. "That's just it. I can't. My mother's in the hospital." "Nothing serious," Naomi quickly added, "but I need to be there. And this meeting with Reed has taken months to arrange. He never attends these things." Understanding dawned on Olivia. "Oh no, absolutely not. Please, Liv, just one evening. We look enough alike that with the right makeup and my dress, no one would know the difference. All you have to do is smile, make small talk about the foundation, and hand him the proposal I've prepared. I can't impersonate you at a gala. I wouldn't know what to say, how to act. You're smart, you're pretty when you actually try, and you've heard me talk about my work enough to fake it for one night." Naomi clasped her hands together. "I'll owe you forever." 3 hours later, Olivia stood in front of Naomi's full-length mirror, barely recognizing herself. The emerald dress hugged curves she usually concealed, and professional makeup transformed her features, highlighting cheekbones she didn't know she possessed. Her normally unruly auburn hair had been tamed into elegant waves. "Remember," Naomi said, adjusting the diamond earrings she'd lent Olivia, "Ethan Reed is brilliant but socially awkward. Just be confident, mention the Horizon Education Initiative, and give him the proposal. 1 hour, tops." The hotel ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and Seattle's wealthiest citizens. Olivia clutched her champagne flute like a lifeline, smiling mechanically as strangers greeted Naomi with air kisses and compliments. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she spotted him across the room. Ethan Reed, looking uncomfortable. In a perfectly tailored suit. At 36, he wasn't what she expected. Tech magazines portrayed him as coldly brilliant, but in person his eyes held a warmth that contradicted his reputation. He stood slightly apart from the crowd, observing rather than engaging. Taking a deep breath, Olivia approached. "Mr. Reed? I'm not..." She stumbled slightly. "Naomi Peterson. Thank you for agreeing to meet me." His eyes met hers, and something shifted in his expression. "Miss Peterson, I've been avoiding your calls for months, yet here I am." A faint smile played at his lips. "You're quite persistent." "Life's too short not to pursue what matters," Olivia responded, surprised by her own boldness. "And what matters to you, Miss Peterson?" he asked, his gaze unexpectedly intense. The practiced pitch Naomi had prepared evaporated from Olivia's mind. Instead, she found herself speaking from the heart, creating spaces where people feel they belong, whether that's through events or other means. "Not the answer I expected from Seattle's premier social butterfly," he remarked. "Perhaps you shouldn't believe everything you read," she replied, feeling a flicker of authenticity breaking through her charade. For the next hour, they spoke not of proposals or initiatives, but of favorite books, the city's hidden gems, and the surprising virtue of rainy days. When Ethan laughed at her quiet observations, Olivia felt something unfamiliar bloom in her chest, a dangerous warmth that had no place in this pretense. As the evening drew to a close, Ethan took her hand. "I'd like to continue our conversation. Dinner, tomorrow night?" The proposal folder remained unopened in her clutch as Olivia nodded, already dreading what she'd set in motion. "I'd like that." Walking away, she felt his eyes following her, unaware that the woman who had captured his interest didn't actually exist. Or perhaps more terrifyingly that she did, but her name wasn't Naomi Peterson. Genuine connections. Olivia paced her apartment above the bookstore, phone pressed to her ear. "Naomi, I can't do this again. He asked me, to dinner tonight." "That's perfect." Naomi's voice bubbled with excitement. "This is exactly what we wanted. Ethan Reed never gives anyone a second meeting." "But I didn't even give him your proposal. We just talked." Olivia ran her fingers through her hair, still styled from the night before. "Talked? About what?" "Books, architecture, how we both prefer museums to nightclubs." She paused. "I wasn't being a very convincing you." Silence stretched across the line before Naomi responded. "Well, whatever you did worked. The Peterson Foundation needs this partnership with Horizon Technologies. My mother's already talking about how I've accomplished what no one else could, getting Reed's attention." Guilt knotted in Olivia's stomach. "I can't keep pretending to be you. It's dishonest." "Just one more meeting," Naomi pleaded. "Long enough to get him to actually look at the proposal. After that, I can take over." She paused. "Besides, you said yourself that you weren't acting like me. So be yourself, just with my name. What's the harm?" The harm, Olivia thought as she hung up, was in the way her heart had fluttered when Ethan had looked at her like she was worth listening to. The harm was in pretending to be someone else while revealing parts of herself she rarely showed anyone. 6 hours later, Olivia sat across from Ethan in a small, intimate restaurant overlooking Puget Sound. The space was nearly empty. He'd arranged a private dining experience away from curious eyes. Most people would choose somewhere more visible, Olivia noted, taking in the understated elegance of the room. Somewhere they could be seen with Ethan Reed. "Is that what you'd prefer?" he asked, studying her with that same intense focus from the gala. "No," she admitted honestly. "This is perfect." Ethan smiled, the expression transforming his serious face. "You're not what I expected, Naomi Peterson." If only you knew, she thought. The tabloids paint you as the center of Seattle's social whirl, always surrounded by people, always at the right parties. He poured her a glass of wine. "Yet you speak about solitude with such appreciation." "Perhaps I contain multitudes," Olivia replied, attempting to lighten the moment. "I think perhaps you do." Throughout dinner, Olivia found herself forgetting the charade. Ethan's keen intelligence challenged her, drawing out opinions she normally kept private. When she mentioned her favorite obscure novel, his eyes lit up with recognition. "You've read Pemberton's work? I thought I was the only one." He leaned forward. "What did you think of the ending?" Their conversation flowed effortlessly from literature to philosophy to their shared love of Seattle's hidden corners. Not once did Ethan mention business or social connections, the very reasons this meeting had been arranged. "There's a small gallery showing tomorrow," he said as they finished dessert. "The artist uses recycled technology to create these incredible light installations. Would you join me?" The invitation hung between them, tempting and dangerous. Olivia knew she should decline, should find some way to steer the conversation toward Naomi's proposal. Instead, she heard herself say, "I'd love to." When he drove her home, she directed him to an address 3 blocks from her actual apartment, unwilling to reveal anything that might unravel her deception. At her fake destination, Ethan stepped out to open her door. Standing close enough that she could smell his subtle cologne, he hesitated, then gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I don't usually do this," he said quietly. "Connect with someone so quickly." "Neither do I," she whispered, the truth of it aching in her chest. His kiss was gentle, questioning, and over far too soon. "Good night, Naomi." Olivia watched his car disappear around the corner before walking the remaining blocks home, conflicted emotions churning within her. Upstairs, she removed the borrowed designer clothes and expensive makeup, transforming back into herself. the woman Ethan Reed had never actually met. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for tonight. You made me forget who I was supposed to be." The irony wasn't lost on her as she typed back, "You did the same for me." The following morning, Naomi burst into the bookstore, waving her phone. "He's texting you, me. This is incredible. What did you do?" "Nothing," Olivia said quietly, shelving a stack of poetry collections. "We just talked." "Well, keep talking. The Foundation Gala is next week, and we need him fully committed by then." Naomi scrolled through her phone. "I've cleared your schedule. You're officially me until further notice." "Naomi, this is getting out of hand. What happens when he discovers the truth?" "He won't," Naomi insisted. "Not until after he's signed on with the Foundation. By then, it won't matter." But as Olivia prepared for the gallery showing that evening, carefully applying the makeup techniques Naomi had taught her, she knew it already mattered, far more than it should. With each meeting, each conversation, each shared laugh, she was falling for a man who thought she was someone else. And worse still, she was beginning to believe he might be falling for her too. Complications arise. The small gallery buzzed with quiet conversation and the gentle hum of the light installations that transformed the space into something otherworldly. Geometric patterns danced across the walls, casting multicolored shadows over Ethan's face as he watched Olivia, still believing her to be Naomi, approach a particularly intricate piece. "The artist calls this one authentic deception," Ethan said, standing close enough that their shoulders brushed. "Ironic, isn't it? Using discarded technology to create something genuine." The title struck too close to home. Olivia swallowed, hard. Sometimes the most authentic things come from unexpected places. "Like us?" he asked, his voice quiet enough that only she could hear. A week had passed since their first dinner, 7 days of gallery visits, quiet walks along the waterfront, and conversations that stretched into the early hours. 7 days of Olivia, falling deeper into both her feelings and her deception. "I've met countless people who wanted something from me," Ethan continued when she didn't respond. "My money, my influence, my connections, but with you I feel like I'm just me. Not Ethan Reed of Horizon Technologies, just Ethan." Guilt twisted in her stomach. "What if I'm not who you think I am?" He smiled, misunderstanding her meaning. "That's exactly my point. You're not the Naomi Peterson I expected. You're so much more interesting." Before she could respond, Olivia's phone buzzed with an incoming text. Naomi's name flashed across the screen. "Emergency. Meet me at Crown Plaza." "Now, everything all right?" Ethan asked, noticing her expression change. "Just work," she lied. "Mind if we cut this short? Something's come up." 30 minutes later, Olivia found herself in the hotel lobby, where a visibly agitated Naomi paced between marble columns. "We have a problem," Naomi hissed, pulling Olivia toward a quiet corner. "My mother invited Ethan Reed to lunch tomorrow to discuss the Foundation partnership with the real me." "Then this charade is over," Olivia said, relief and dread battling within her. "It can't be. The contract isn't signed yet." Naomi ran a hand through her perfect blonde hair. "I've stalled by telling Mother I have a conflict, but she's insistent that I reschedule with him for next week." "Next week is fine. I'll just—" "No, you don't understand. Reed specifically asked for you, well, me, to attend the Palmer auction. This Saturday night, it's a huge event. Everyone who's anyone will be there." Olivia felt the walls closing in. "I can't keep doing this, Naomi. It's gone too far. He's starting to matter to me." Something shifted in Naomi's expression. Surprise, followed quickly by calculation. "Oh my God. You've fallen for him." "That's not what I said. It's written all over your face." Naomi stepped closer. "Look, this could work in our favor. The more he cares about you, the more likely he'll sign with the Foundation. He's not just a contract to me." "Lower your voice," Naomi warned. "Listen, Olivia. My family's foundation is everything to my mother. This partnership would secure funding for the children's literacy program for the next decade. Think of all the good that could come from this." Olivia felt trapped. And what happens when he discovers that I've been lying to him all along? We'll cross that bridge later. Right now, I need you to attend that auction with him. After that, we'll figure something out. Naomi's expression softened slightly. Please, Liv. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Olivia stared at the latest text from Ethan. Missed you after you left. Found this book we discussed. Would love to hear your thoughts. Attached was a photo of a first edition novel she'd mentioned in passing days ago. The thoughtfulness of the gesture made her chest ache. She typed and deleted a dozen responses before finally settling on, looking forward to Saturday. And the book. Thank you for thinking of me. The following days passed in a blur of preparation. Naomi insisted on selecting the perfect gown, coaching Olivia on who's who in Seattle's elite circles, and constantly reminding her of the importance of keeping Ethan's interest. By Saturday evening, Olivia stood before the mirror in Naomi's apartment, barely recognizing the woman staring back. The midnight blue gown hugged her figure before flaring, dramatically at her knees, and her hair had been swept into an elegant updo that showcased the diamond earrings Naomi insisted she borrow again. Remember, the Palmers always seat the most influential guests near the front, Naomi instructed, adjusting Olivia's necklace. If you end up at table 8 or higher, we've made progress. This isn't a game, Naomi. Everything's a game in this world, Liv. You're just not used to playing. She stepped back, appraising her cousin with a satisfied nod. Perfect. No one will question that you're me. But someone did question it. Halfway through the auction, as Olivia stood by Ethan's side near the champagne fountain, a sharp voice cut through the ambient chatter. Naomi Peterson. I thought you couldn't make it tonight. A statuesque woman in her 50s approached, eyes narrowing as she took in Olivia's appearance. Victoria said you were meeting with international clients. Olivia felt Ethan's questioning gaze as she scrambled for a response. The meeting ended earlier than expected, she managed, heart pounding. I didn't want to miss this. The woman's skepticism was palpable. You look different somehow. Did you change your hair? Just trying something new, Mrs. Langford, Olivia replied, recalling the name from Naomi's extensive briefing. Well, it's certainly different. Mrs. Langford's attention shifted to Ethan. Mr. Reed, what a pleasure to see you out and about. We were beginning to think you'd become a complete recluse. As Ethan engaged in polite conversation, Olivia felt her phone vibrate. A text from Naomi. My mother just saw Victoria Langford, who told her I'm at the auction with Ethan Reed. She's furious. Get out of there now. Before Olivia could process this, another complication arrived in the form of a tall, impeccably dressed man who approached with recognition lighting his features. Naomi, I thought you were in... he began, stopping abruptly as he took a closer look at Olivia. Confusion crossed his face. You're not Naomi. The ambient noise of the auction seemed to fade as Ethan turned toward the exchange, his expression shifting from confusion to suspicion. I'm sorry, the man continued, frowning. I could have sworn... You look remarkably similar to Naomi Peterson. This is Naomi Peterson, Ethan stated, his tone suddenly careful. No, the man said with absolute certainty. It isn't. As both men turned to her, waiting for an explanation, Olivia felt her carefully constructed world beginning to crumble. The weight of weeks of deception pressed down on her, making it difficult to breathe in the suddenly too tight gown. Ethan, I can explain, she began, her voice barely audible over the pounding of her heart. But the look in his eyes, confusion giving way to realization, then hurt, told her that any explanation might already be too late. Truth and consequences. Your name isn't Naomi Peterson, is it? Ethan's words hung in the air between them. They had escaped the auction, fleeing in his car to avoid the curious stares and whispers that had begun to ripple through the crowd. Now, they sat in a deserted viewpoint overlooking the city lights, the space between them on the leather seat feeling like an unbridgeable chasm. No, Olivia finally admitted, her hands twisted in the fabric of her borrowed gown. "My name is Olivia Bennett. Naomi is my cousin." The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan stared straight ahead, his profile illuminated by the dashboard lights, jaw clenched tight. "Olivia Bennett," he repeated, testing the name. "And who exactly is she?" Taking a shaky breath, Olivia began to unravel the truth. "I own a small bookstore called Chapter 1. I live in an apartment above it. I'm quiet and introverted and nothing like the woman you thought you were getting to know." "Except that's not true, is it?" Ethan finally turned to face her, eyes hard with anger but also something else, confusion, hurt. "The woman I've been spending time with, talking about books, art, architecture, that was you, not some character you were playing." "Yes," she whispered. "That was me." "Then why the deception? What was the point?" His voice rose slightly. "Was this some kind of game? A way to get close to the reclusive billionaire?" "No, it wasn't like that." Olivia turned in her seat to face him fully. "Naomi needed to meet with you about her foundation's partnership with Horizon. When she couldn't make it, she asked me to stand in for her, just for that one night." Realization dawned in his expression. "But I never asked about any foundation that night. We just talked and then I asked to see you again." "And I should have refused," Olivia admitted. "But I couldn't. I enjoyed being with you too much." Ethan laughed, but there was no humor in it. "So the woman I thought I was falling for doesn't exist. She's a hybrid. Naomi Peterson's name and social standing with Olivia Bennett's, what, personality? Thoughts? Which parts were real?" "All of them," she insisted. "Everything I shared with you, my thoughts, my feelings, my interests, that was all real. The only lie was my name. And your reason for being there in the first place." He rubbed a hand over his face. "Do you have any idea how many people have tried to manipulate their way into my life? For money, for connections, for publicity? I never wanted any of that. What did you want then?" he demanded. The question hung between them, demanding an honesty Olivia had been denying even to herself. "At first, I was just helping Naomi. Then I was caught in a lie I didn't know how to escape." She took a shaky breath. "And then, I just wanted to be with you." Ethan closed his eyes briefly. "Take me through it, every step. I want to understand exactly how long and how thoroughly I've been deceived." For the next hour, Olivia detailed everything. Naomi's initial request, the Foundation's need for Horizon's partnership, her own growing feelings and discomfort with the deception. As she spoke, Ethan's expression remained unreadable, though his knuckles whitened against the steering wheel. "So all this time," he finally said, "while I've been sharing parts of myself I rarely show anyone, you've been reporting back to your cousin about how to best manipulate me into a business deal." "It wasn't like that," Olivia protested, though the words sounded hollow even to her own ears. "What would you call it then?" She had no answer. "Did you ever intend to tell me the truth?" Ethan asked. "Or were you going to wait until the contract was signed and then disappear, leaving the real Naomi Peterson to take over?" "I don't know," Olivia admitted, tears threatening to spill. "I kept telling Naomi we needed to end it, but the longer it went on, the harder it became to imagine losing you." Ethan shook his head, a bitter smile playing at his lips. "The irony is, I pursued you, or who I thought was Naomi, precisely because you seemed different. Genuine. Uninterested in my wealth or status." He turned to look at her fully. "I thought I'd finally found someone who saw me for me." The tears Olivia had been holding back spilled over. "I did see you, I do." "No," he said quietly. "You saw an opportunity, and you took it. That's not fair." "Isn't it? You maintained a lie for weeks. You let me believe you were someone you weren't. You watched me develop feelings based on a false premise." His voice remained controlled, but anger simmered beneath the surface. "Was anything real, Olivia? Or was I just a project? A stepping stone for your cousin's ambitions? Everything I shared with you was real, she insisted. Every conversation, every moment, that was the real me. Except for the fundamental fact of who you were. He put the car in drive. I'm taking you home. Your real home, not whatever address you've been giving me. The drive to her bookstore passed in painful silence. When they arrived, Ethan put the car in park but didn't turn off the engine, a clear message that he wouldn't be staying. I never meant to hurt you, Olivia said softly, her hand on the door handle. People rarely do, he replied, staring straight ahead. Yet somehow they manage it anyway. She stepped out into the cool night air, the glamorous gown absurdly out of place on the quiet street where her modest bookstore stood. Before closing the door, she leaned down once more. For what it's worth, I fell in love with the real you. Not your money, not your status, just you. Ethan finally looked at her, his expression unreadable. The problem is, I can't say the same. I don't know who the real you is. As his car pulled away, Olivia stood on the sidewalk, the weight of her deception crushing her chest. Inside her apartment, she carefully removed the borrowed jewelry and designer gown, placing them in the box Naomi had provided. With each item she shed, she felt more like herself again, but that no longer brought comfort. Her phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from Naomi demanding updates, but Olivia ignored them all. Instead, she curled up on her window seat, still, wearing her elaborate makeup, and watched the lights of the city blur through her tears. Morning arrived with harsh clarity. Olivia opened her bookstore as usual, finding solace in the familiar routine of arranging displays and assisting the few customers who wandered in. Around noon, the bell above the door jangled, and she looked up to find Naomi standing there. You haven't answered any of my texts, her cousin accused. What happened last night? Did Reed mention the foundation at all? Olivia regarded her with new eyes. Had Naomi always been this self-absorbed? Or had Olivia simply been willing to overlook? It's over, Naomi, she said quietly. Ethan knows everything. What do you mean, everything? Naomi's perfectly made-up face paled. Did you tell him about our arrangement? I didn't have to. Someone at the auction recognized that I wasn't you. Olivia turned back to the books she was shelving. He knows my real name, who I really am, and why I approached him in the first place. Naomi sank onto a nearby chair. This is a disaster. My mother will be devastated. The foundation? Is that really all you care about? Olivia interrupted. Not the fact that we deceived and hurt someone? That we treated him like a means to an end rather than a person with feelings? Don't be naive, Liv. People like us are always means to an end for people like him, Naomi countered, but her voice lacked conviction. That's not true. He was genuine with me. With us. And we repaid that with manipulation. Olivia placed the final book on the shelf and turned to face her cousin fully. I think you should go. I have a store to run. After Naomi left, Olivia tried to lose herself in work, but thoughts of Ethan intruded constantly. She kept remembering small moments, his smile when she'd mentioned her favorite hidden bookstore, the way he'd listened so intently when she spoke, how his fingers had brushed against hers when passing a gallery program. All gone now, shattered by deception. That evening, after closing the shop, Olivia found a small package outside her door. Inside was the first edition book Ethan had shown her days ago, along with a brief note. This belongs with someone who truly appreciates it. Goodbye, Olivia Bennett. No signature, no return address, just a final acknowledgement that he now knew who she really was, and a clear message that it was truly over. Olivia traced the embossed cover of the book, a physical reminder of what might have been if only she'd been brave enough to be honest from the start. For the first time, she allowed herself to fully feel the weight of what she'd lost. Not just Ethan, but her own integrity. Finding their way 3 weeks passed. The bookstore remained Olivia's sanctuary, though now it felt more like a hiding place than a haven. She moved through her days with mechanical precision, ordering inventory, arranging displays, helping customers find their perfect reads. all while feeling strangely detached from the world she'd once loved. Naomi had stopped calling after their confrontation, the silence between them stretching longer than any in their 30 years as cousins. According to local gossip columns, which Olivia couldn't help but check, the Peterson Foundation had secured a different tech partnership, smaller than Horizon would have been, but still substantial. Life had moved on. But Olivia remained stuck in that moment in Ethan's car, replaying what she should have said, what she should have done differently. The bell above the door chimed on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Olivia glanced up from the register and froze. Victoria Langford, the woman who had almost exposed her at the auction, stood examining the poetry section, her elegant trench coat still damp from the Seattle drizzle. "Mrs. Langford?" Olivia managed, her voice catching. "Can I help you find something?" The older woman looked up, recognition dawning in her shrewd eyes. "So this is where you've been hiding." Olivia Bennett, proprietor of Chapter 1 Books. She approached the counter with measured steps. "It took some effort to find you, you know." "I wasn't aware anyone was looking," Olivia replied carefully. "Not me, specifically." Mrs. Langford ran a manicured finger along the edge of the wooden counter. "But I sit on several boards with Ethan Reed. He's been distracted lately." Olivia's heart clenched at the mention of his name. "I'm not sure why you're telling me this. Because despite my reputation as a gossip, I actually care about that young man." She fixed Olivia with a penetrating stare. "He mentioned meeting a bookseller who changed his perspective on several things." I connected the dots. "Mrs. Langford, I'm not here to judge you, Miss Bennett. What you and Naomi did was deceptive, certainly. But I've been in this social circle long enough to know that everyone wears masks. Some are just more obvious than others." She picked up a bookmark from the display, examining it absently. "The question is, who was Ethan really connecting with during those weeks? The facade or the person behind it?" The question hung in the air between them. Finally, Olivia spoke. "The person? At least I hope it was." Mrs. Langford nodded. "That's what I suspected. Ethan has been surrounded by people wanting pieces of him since he sold his first company at 25. He's developed quite the radar for inauthenticity." She placed the bookmark back in its holder. "Which makes what happened between you all the more interesting." "It doesn't matter now," Olivia said quietly. "I betrayed his trust. Some things can't be repaired. Perhaps. Or perhaps you're both so used to protecting yourselves that you're missing the forest for the trees." Mrs. Langford reached into her handbag and extracted a cream-colored envelope. "The annual Literary Society benefit is this Friday at the public library. Ethan will be there, announcing a new literacy initiative." She placed the envelope on the counter. "This is an invitation. What you do with it is entirely your choice." After Mrs. Langford departed, Olivia stared at the envelope for nearly an hour before finally opening it. Inside was not only an invitation to the benefit but also a handwritten note. "Sometimes the truest connections begin with false starts. He misses the real you. VL." For 3 days, Olivia wrestled with the decision. Seeing Ethan again would mean confronting her shame, risking further rejection. Not going meant accepting that their story was truly over. Friday evening arrived with uncharacteristically clear skies. The Seattle Public Library's central branch was transformed for the benefit, its distinctive glass and steel architecture aglow with soft lighting. Olivia stood across the street wearing a simple blue dress, her own, not borrowed, clutching her invitation like a shield. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, crossing the street before her courage failed. Inside, the soaring atrium buzzed with Seattle's literary elite. Authors, publishers, and patrons mingled beneath the building's geometric patterns of glass and steel. Olivia moved through the crowd, feeling both invisible and exposed. She spotted him near the main staircase, deep in conversation with an elderly gentleman. Ethan looked thinner than she remembered, the angles of his face more pronounced. He wore his formal attire with the same slight discomfort she had first noticed at the gala, as though perpetually aware he didn't quite belong in this world, despite his wealth. As if sensing her presence, he looked up. Their eyes locked across the crowded room, and for a moment, everything else faded away. His expression shifted from shock to something unreadable before he excused himself from his conversation. Olivia stood rooted to the spot as Ethan made his way toward her, her heart thundering in her chest. "Olivia Bennett," he said when he reached her true name on his lips sending a shiver through her. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Mrs. Langford can be quite persuasive," she admitted. "I hope my presence doesn't make you uncomfortable." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Victoria meddling again. I should have known." He gestured toward a quieter corner. "Would you walk with me?" They moved to a secluded area near the rare books collection, the silence between them fraught with unspoken words. "I've been reading a lot these past few weeks," Ethan finally said, surprising her. "Trying to make sense of things." "What kind of things?" "Trust. Forgiveness. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are and who others expect us to be." His gaze was steady, searching. "I kept coming back to something you said that first night about creating spaces where people feel they belong." Olivia nodded, remembering. "I meant it. I know. That's the irony." He turned slightly, looking out at the crowd below. "In all, the time we spent together, you were the one wearing a false name. Yet you were more authentic with me than anyone I've met in years." Hope flickered in Olivia's chest, but she tempered it with caution. "That doesn't excuse what I did." "No, it doesn't," he agreed. "But it made me examine my own life, the walls I've built, the person I pretend to be in boardrooms and at galas." He turned back to her. "We were both pretending in different ways." "I never pretended when it came to how I felt about you," Olivia said softly. "That was real from the beginning." Something vulnerable crossed Ethan's face. "After you left that night, I was angry, hurt. I told myself I'd been used, that nothing between us had been genuine." He paused. "But then I realized something. I couldn't stop thinking about you. Not Naomi Peterson, you. The woman who challenged my opinions on Pemberton's work, who preferred hidden bookstores to prestigious galleries, who saw the loneliness beneath my success." Olivia's breath caught. "Ethan, I had my team investigate," he continued. "I needed to know who Olivia Bennett really was. They found Chapter 1 books, your little apartment above it, the community reading programs you run for neighborhood children, the real you." His voice softened. "And everything they discovered only made me miss you more." "I wanted to reach out," Olivia admitted, "to apologize properly, but I didn't think you'd want to hear from me." "I wouldn't have," he acknowledged. "Not then. I needed time to realize something important." He took a step closer. "The person I fell for wasn't a name or a social position or even a face. It was a mind, a heart, a way of seeing the world that matched my own, even though our circumstances couldn't be more different." Tears threatened at the corners of Olivia's eyes. "So where does that leave us?" "I don't know," Ethan answered honestly. "But I'd like to find out. Properly this time, with no pretenses." He extended his hand. "Hello. I'm Ethan Reed. I run a technology company. I read too much for my own good, and I'm terrified of most social gatherings." A laugh bubbled up through Olivia's tears as she took his offered hand. "Olivia Bennett. I own a bookstore. I talk to fictional characters more than real people most days, and I'm standing here wondering if second chances really exist." "I think they do," he said, his fingers tightening around hers. "If we're brave enough to take them." Later that evening, they slipped away from the benefit, wandering through the quiet, book-lined floors of the library after most guests had congregated in the main hall for speeches. "I should be down there," Ethan noted, though he made no move to return. "I'm supposed to announce Horizon's new literacy initiative." "Which is?" Olivia asked, genuinely curious. "A partnership with independent bookstores to create reading spaces for underprivileged children. Technology meets traditional literacy." He looked at her meaningfully. Actually, I was hoping to speak with the owner of a certain bookstore about being our pilot location. Olivia's eyes widened. Are you serious? Completely. The program needs someone who understands both books and community building. His expression grew more serious. But I want to be clear. This is a legitimate business proposition, separate from whatever this is between us. No strings attached. And what is this between us? Olivia asked softly. Ethan considered her question carefully. A second draft, he finally said. A chance to write our story honestly this time. As they stood surrounded by thousands of books, each containing worlds of possibility, Olivia realized that their own story was just beginning its most important chapter. The one where truth, however difficult, laid the foundation for something genuine and lasting. I'd like that, she said, reaching for his hand again. A second draft sounds perfect. 6 months later, Chapter 1 books had been transformed. The children's section now featured a state-of-the-art digital learning center, alongside comfortable reading nooks. Local children filled the space after school, some reading traditional books while others engaged with interactive literacy programs on sleek Horizon tablets. Olivia moved between them, helping a young boy find a physical book that matched the interests he'd discovered through the digital program. Across the room, Ethan sat cross-legged on the floor, reading aloud to a circle of entranced children. Naomi appeared in the doorway, hesitant in a way Olivia had rarely seen before. Their relationship had slowly mended over shared Sunday brunches and honest conversations about expectations and boundaries. The place looks amazing, Liv, she said, approaching the counter. You've done something special here. We have, Olivia corrected, glancing toward Ethan, who caught her eye and smiled. Their journey back to each other hadn't been easy. Trust rebuilt slowly, through honest conversations and careful boundaries. Olivia had insisted on keeping her apartment above the bookstore, maintaining her independence even as their relationship deepened. Ethan had learned to separate his business decisions from his personal feelings, ensuring their professional collaboration remained ethical. They were still learning, still growing, both as individuals and together. But the foundation of their relationship had been rebuilt on something stronger than deception or fantasy, the truth of who they really were, flaws and all. You know, Naomi mused, watching Ethan with the children, I never would have connected with him the way you did, even if I'd made that first meeting. You don't know that, Olivia said kindly. I do. Naomi smiled wryly. Some people are just meant to find each other, even if they take a roundabout way getting there. As the afternoon light filtered through, the bookstore windows casting a golden glow over new beginnings and second chances, Olivia reflected on the strange journey that had brought them here. A reluctant impersonation had led to an unexpected truth, that sometimes we find our most authentic selves in the eyes of those who truly see us, not for who we pretend to be, but for who we really are. And in the end, it wasn't about being the right girl or the wrong one. It was about being real in a world that so often rewarded pretense. That was the story worth telling, worth living, and worth loving.